Hello people, welcome back to my channel. Today, ignore the same hoodie, I'm doing videos back to back. Today we are going to be talking about my little foray sachet, my little escapade in breastfeeding and why it only lasted 2 months.
Stop chasing all the city lights. Breathe me in, go on and take your bite.
So my name is Kylie. I am an author tuber. I am a voice actress and an audio narrator and a mom. I knew breastfeeding was going to be hard. I had no idea that it's a freaking full-time job on top of being a mom, which is a full-time job, on top of having a full-time job being a self-employed person. So, story time. I am not breastfeeding anymore. I technically never really breastfed. I pumped a bottle. So for the first 2 weeks of his life, I would alternate between breastfeeding and pumping to try and get my supply up. And also he was supplemented, since my supply wasn't in, with formula. You can probably hear him out there. And so we kind of had like a mash of things for him because I didn't have that great of a supply starting out and never really had that great of a supply. And he was always supplemented with formula because he started off being supplemented in the hospital due to the jaundice on formula. So day 1 after my labor and delivery, they start me on the pump in hospital. And my husband and I are sitting there like this tiny little 10cc syringe. We're just sucking up the colostrum. And once you get that full 10 cc's, you feel so amazing because you have 10 full cc's of colostrum, which is like nothing, but you feel like a rock star when you get that 10 cc's. And it might not be 10 cc's, it might be 10 something else. It's been a while since I've been in like the veterinary field, so I don't know, I might be totally wrong, but it was 10 something in a tiny little tube, like about that thick and that long. And I felt great. I felt like, oh, this is gonna be easy. He latched beautifully. He latched 20 minutes after he was doing skin to skin on me after labor and delivery, and the nurse took my boob and took the face and smashed them together, and it was like, whoa, that's weird. But he latched perfectly, didn't have a tongue tie, seemed to really enjoy himself. And for the first like 2 weeks, he was pretty much breastfed, and if he wasn't breastfed, he was definitely supplemented with the formula. And here's where we run into problem number 1. Because of my postpartum, I was not eating enough or drinking enough or sleeping enough. And I was super anxious and crying all the time, and my emotions and my hormones were in upheaval. So I was not producing well at all. And once I got my drinking, my big cup from the hospital, I filled it up, and I had to have like 5 a day to, be good, which when you're breastfeeding, if you know anything about it, you're starving all the time and you're thirsty all the time. But when you have postpartum, you don't want to eat or drink anything because you're just sad all the time. See my conundrum? So once my eating and drinking got better, supply got better. However, I never ever had enough of a supply to successfully feed him. And maybe it would have been different had I kept him exclusively breastfed, but I needed a break. I needed to sleep, and I pumped to the bottle for the majority of the time after the first 2-3 weeks. I would have him latch the first night that we had cluster feedings with his first growth spurt. It was impossible. I had such bad postpartum anxiety. My emotions were all over the place. I didn't expect breastfeeding to be an emotional struggle, and it was. He was a good latcher, but he would pop on and off my breast when what I believe there was nothing left. Like he wasn't able to get it, or he was so, he was hungry to the point where he was frustrated with it, and he would be crying and I would be crying. And I just remember handing him to my husband and said, I can't do this. We got to do the bottle. I can't. It's too emotional. This is too much for me. So I did. I started pumping to bottle. I did the power pumping, 20 minutes. What is it? I think it's 30 minutes, 10-minute rest, 10 minutes, 10-minute rest, and then another 10 minutes of pumping. I did the whole doing that and doing it at 3 in the morning, because that's the best time for your milk production, and doing it just out of the shower and warming up your breasts with, the packs and stuff like that help release your milk, bring it down. I did all of that. I was eating like a Hoover, good, nutritious food, drinking all the time, and my son started to run into some problems, being unsatisfied, unsettled, gassy, and a huge butt rash. So breastfed babies poop pretty much after every meal, which for him, he got caustic poops, and it caused a severe butt rash. And then he started to be uncomfortable, and I started cutting everything from my diet. I cut coffee, milk, all the dairy. I cut cruciferous vegetables. I was pretty much on a brat diet. If you know what a brat diet is, it's for reflux. And he still wasn't settling. He wasn't that fussy, but he wasn't as happy as he was when we fed him formula. So we noticed when we fed him formula at night, he would sleep better. He was happier during the day, he had more energy, and he seemed to stay fuller longer, which obviously you will on formula. And finally, it got to the point where I was pumping 4 hours a day, plus having to take care of him, plus having to do my job, and my supply was not increasing. It was just staying the same across the board. I had enough for, I think, 4 of the 10 feedings. I think I had 6 of the 10 feedings I would have had to have per day to sustain him. I was only pumping that much. Now I know when the baby is exclusively breastfed, they do what's called cluster feeding, which is a signal to your body to increase your production. Those suck. And if you are a mom who breastfed through the first year and then some, you are a goddess and you have immense patience and you need a crown, because I didn't have that. My mentality became, what would I rather be? A happy mom with a happy baby, or a miserable mom with a semi-happy baby who was constantly needing food? Because let me tell you something, this kid has grown so fast. He's 4 months next week. He is already in 6 to 9 month clothes, and 9-month clothes pretty much fit him perfectly now. He's gonna be he's tall, he's long, and he's gonna be a big kid. So he was hungry and he wasn't getting what he needed. Now, we had lactation consultants and everything like that, but for me, mentally, it was just not going to work. So my husband said, make a choice, because you're upset about this. I don't want you to be upset about this anymore. I'm not going to judge you for not breastfeeding him anymore. You can stop. If you need permission to stop, please stop. Please stop. Like, he was begging me to stop. And so I did. It took me a month to dry up. I did it the right way. I did it slowly. I increased my time between pumping, and then I took a pump away every day or every week, and I had zero problems. I didn't get any mastitis. I didn't get any blocked ducts. I didn't get anything like that. I did it the right way apparently, and it was magical. So I do have a supply of some frozen breast milk in the freezer, and I will reintroduce him to it probably in his cereal, and I have a bunch stored for like butt rash baths and stuff like that, because breast milk is really good for them. But for some reason at his age, his little body just couldn't take whatever I was eating, and I was eating like the brat diet. So not exactly sure what was causing that, but on formula, he is an absolutely happy, healthy, active little dude, and he looks forward to every meal. So they say breast is best, but in reality, fed is best. I would have loved to have been able to be that mom who basically just had the baby stuck to her all the time. I really would have, because to me that would have been like the best way possible, but I wasn't that person. I just wasn't, and I don't think there's any shame in that. I breastfed him for the first 2 months of his life into 2.5 months, because we started to like cut his formula with breast milk, and then we just switched completely over. So he's totally happy now. And I did it. I know the experience. I know what it's like. And I would probably try it again if I had another one, which probably won't happen. But I would be willing to try again and to understand the rigors of it a little bit more. But that is the story about how I went from breastfeeding and being a crazy person to formula feeding and having mom and baby be so much happier. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will see you in the next one. One love, guys.